Teaching for Change, why students took to the streets and the classroom in response to a controversial professor's continued presence on campus.
Saving a safe space for women, students band together to fight for the future of Hobart House.
Ringing in the year of the pig, Chicago's Chinese New Year festival celebrated with all the bells and whistles.
Those stories and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news right now.
Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Amanda Rooker.
And I'm Justin Sweetwood. Thanks for joining us. We start tonight with the latest on Dr. Satoshi Kanazawa. The visiting scholar has penned papers called, quote, Why Men Gamble and Women Buy Shoes, and, quote, Why Are Black Women Less Physically Attractive Than Other Women? After months of student anger, some people are still wondering why the university is still funding his research. NNN's Joey Safchik is in the studio with more. Joey?
Thanks, Justin. Students have been speaking out about their qualms with Kanazawa since winter break. NU Political Union and the Associated Student Government have held events where students have aired their grievances. Now, students are taking a different approach. Demonstrating, discussing, and deep listening. Months after Satoshi Kanazawa began his research stint at Northwestern, students are peacefully protesting the guest scholar's presence on campus.
Ready? Power, power, power!
He doesn't teach, but students are upset Kanazawa is here despite his history of hateful hypotheses.
If I'm saying that this man's presence on this campus is personally affecting me and every Black person, every person of color on this campus, why should you be able to tell me, oh, but we have to respect his right to research?
On Friday, with temperatures hovering around 8 degrees, students and faculty rallied at the Rock.
What good is taking over when we know what you're gonna do?
The only revolution happens right inside of you.
All right, let's start the revolution, y'all.
They marched to the university's central administration offices at Rebecca Crown Center. Various Northwestern student groups, both graduate and undergrad, joined forces to organize the event.
We have come together for years now to kind of share our work together, but also to think about how to be ethical members of communities.
The march ended here on the steps of Swift Hall, home to the psychology department. Students and faculty spent the rest of the day inside, contemplating the differences between academic freedom and academic harm.
Academic freedom is mainly a conversation about what professors have the right to say, what professors have the right to publish, sort of free speech for professors, but it is not, I don't think it completely includes free speech for students.
Organizers dubbed this a teach-in. For 6.5 hours, in the building where Kanazawa works, presenters and participants discussed the broader implications of scientific racism under the guise of academia.
We want to push on those definitions of academic freedom and say, what is a world and what does a definition of academic freedom look like that could both protect academics but hold accountable those who would inquire with racist kind of intentions.
The teach-in arose in response to a statement from Provost Jonathan Holloway, which students say they found unsatisfying. The provost wrote, quote, I believe that personally held views, no matter how odious, cannot be a reason to undermine the vital principle of intellectual freedom that all academic institutions serve to protect.
Are we saying that his freedom to research is more important than this person's identity? And
Kanazawa continues to work at Northwestern, but so do these students, who hope to make campus a more welcoming space for all. Provost Holloway was not available for an on-camera interview, but did respond to our questions via email, saying, quote, throughout the debate about Professor Kanazawa, our students have been amazing. They have presented impassioned, well-reasoned arguments and have engaged constructive dialogue. Today's march and teach-in is a perfect example. Organizers say they hope to sit down with administration and share the outcomes of the student-led teach-in.
Thanks, Joey. Now an update on a story we brought you last week about David Krupa, the 19-year-old running for alderman in Chicago's 13th Ward. On Friday, he was accused of, quote, cyberstalking and bullying by a middle school teacher. Jan Muir says Krupa breached a school computer system and, quote, harassed and bullied her. In the letter written on Chicago Teachers Union letterhead, Muir asks union members not to vote for Krupa. Krupa's attorney denied the allegation. We have also learned that in June 2017, when Krupa was a minor, his former girlfriend was granted an emergency order of protection against him for 9 months. Krupa has not denied this allegation.
Workers in the state of Illinois could soon be getting a raise. The state Senate passed a measure last week to raise the statewide minimum wage to $15 an hour, up from $8.25 an hour. The bill now goes to the Illinois State House, where it is expected to pass. The plan would raise minimum wage slightly year by year, reaching $15 in 2025. Governor J.B. Pritzker campaigned on the issue last year after former Governor Bruce Rauner vetoed a similar measure in 2017. Cook County already approved a plan to raise wage to $13 an hour by 2020. The second city is now ranked number 1 on several new travel lists. Chicago took the top spot on Condé Nast Traveler's Best in Cities in the U.S. list for the second year in a row. Chi-Town was also dubbed the 5th most romantic city in the world by spa seekers and came in 4th on their list of best places for marriage proposals. And of course, digital party platform Evite named Chicago the second best party city in the country. Locals say they're not surprised.
My favorite part about Chicago is definitely the culture. Like, there's a different neighborhood that represents literally everybody. You can go to Lincoln Square and see something totally different than Wicker Park, than Hyde Park. Like, there's something for everybody.
Chicago continues to rank as one of the top travel destinations in North America.
The doors at Boltwood have been bolted shut. The restaurant closed for good after 5 years in business. Some are concerned the closure is part of a growing trend. Online food delivery services like Grubhub have been cutting into restaurants' profits. Small, locally owned businesses have been hit particularly hard. Taco Bell and clothing boutique Francesca's also closed recently downtown. When one door closes, another one opens. Evanston has a new breakfast and lunch spot downtown. Frida's is on Church Street, just around the corner from Whole Foods. They serve American breakfast and lunch fare with a Mexican twist and are open until 4 p.m. The owner says he's excited about the opening.
My goals for the future in this restaurant is to establish myself and create a niche for the Evanston community and see myself with the students.
The 61st Annual Grammy Awards released its winners, featuring a Beanon faculty member, Donald Nally, and 2018 Tony Award-winning alumna, Katrina Lenk. Nally won the Grammy Award for Best Choral Performance for Lansing McCloskey Zealot Canticles, and Lenk, star of Broadway's show The Band's Visit, won for Best Musical Theater Album. For Nally, this is his second consecutive Grammy win and third consecutive nomination. Residential colleges are capping the number of returnable students. Now, only the top 50% of point owners in each residential college will be permitted to return to their dormitories. Previously, all students who have achieved a predetermined number of points were allowed to return. From now on, room selection processes for the residential colleges will be handled by residential services, not run by a student-run executive board of each college. This policy is to ensure the 50-50 ratio of first years to returnees within residential colleges announced in fall of 2017.
The university is considering another big change in housing. NNN's Alexa McHale brings you more. Alexa?
Hobart House, also known as Women's Residential College, is the only all-female dorm on Northwestern's campus, located at the center of the sorority quad. What makes Hobart unique, though, is that it gives women a space of solidarity that is not embedded in Greek life. I spoke with some of Hobart's fondest members, finding out the ends they would go to if they lost their home.
We had a wall of encouragements.
This is Eleanor Ellis. She's the president of Hobart House, Northwestern's only all-women's residential college. For her, Hobart House is more than just a place to live.
We keep Post-its, and anytime someone says something funny or ridiculous or mildly embarrassing, someone else will be like, oh, that's going on the quote wall, and they'll write it down, and we put them in the scrapbook when we do that winter quarter.
Traditions like this book, game night, the Hobart talent show, baking competitions, and craft nights define the community of the women of Hobart. But what makes Hobart special is the sense of safety it creates for women.
It also provides a space for women, and hijabis in particular, to be able to come into lounge spaces or work out without having to wear their hijab, and without having to worry as much about seeing men.
A place of comfort, support, and long-lasting friendships. After spending the day here in Hobart with Eleanor, it's evident how much a space like this means to women. And that's why they were so outraged when they heard it could be taken away from them. Wednesday night, students heard that residential services could take Hobart away. Associated Student Government got involved, holding a panel on a resolution to preserve Hobart. Ellis was one of the many members to speak.
It's really about the history
And Hobart House opened in 1928 as a non-sorority housing option for women, and for nearly a century it has provided a safe and economically accessible space for women and women aligned.
Not just current members, but past ones too turned out to the panel. Hobart alum Liberty Vincent says Hobart holds memories that are carried from generation to generation.
We already have a system in place where Muslim students have said that they feel safe and so I'm not seeing why that has to be really messed with, honestly.
After women like Ellis and Vincent shared their story, the administration at the ASG meeting reassured students that they do not plan to get rid of Hobart.
We were able to reassure them that for next year, no, Hobart House is staying, and that really when we look ahead to a single residential model, it's how can more students take advantage of things like Hobart House?
Safe for now, but Hobart residents are not taking anything for granted.
That just shows how much people are invested in the Hobart community, whether they are retired faculty or they have graduated. Hobart really meant a lot to them, and it was their home and their people.
Although administration says they are keeping Hobart as is for next year, they do plan to expand in the coming years, possibly altering some of the traditions and history those students of Hobart treasure the most.
Thanks, Alexa. And coming up, melting ice and rising voices. Northwestern discusses how climate change and politics are shaping our future.
Temperatures went up, but students are falling down. Find out why after the break.
It's going to stay warm the next few days, but will these toasty temps last into the weekend? I'll let you know what to expect for the rest of the week coming up in your 5-day weather forecast.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Recent fluctuating weather has created a slippery slope on campus, literally. NNN's Olivia Olander spoke to students who were affected by the conditions.
Sophomore Andrew Vong was walking down this hill at Norris in January when he says he slipped and injured himself on the ice.
Like walking back up, even just the regular sidewalk along like the inner part of the Lakeville was still slippery, so I like jumped in the snow and walked in the snow all the way back up north because I didn't want to fall again.
Vong hurt his wrist and hip and didn't go to his classes for the rest of the day because of the discomfort. He said he's not the only person he knows who has slipped. Northwestern students have faced a range of icy conditions over the last few weeks, with a polar vortex being followed by a melt, a freeze, and more snow.
I definitely was just not aware of how bad it was.
The slippery sidewalks even made it to the Northwestern meme page on Facebook. Sophomore Michael Ma got over 1,200 likes for a meme comparing campus roads to the now defunct Norris ice rink. He said he was excited that the post had a big reaction.
A lot of it was just good timing. I think everyone had some trouble walking on the sidewalks that day.
Vong said the cold made his injury worse in some ways.
And it was actually so cold that it started bleeding and then the blood froze or coagulated, so it just looked like gel. It was kind of ridiculous.
But he recovered by the next morning and said it wasn't typical of Northwestern winters in his experience.
Last year's winter wasn't that bad, but this one really, it came for my life.
Olivia Olander, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Olivia. Scientists agree that climate change is real and helps to explain the weird weather we've seen lately, but many people still don't believe in climate change. Here at Northwestern, political science researchers recently published a paper called, quote, "The Evidence for Motivated Reasoning in Climate Change Preference Formation." They examine why some Americans consider climate change indisputable fact, while others think it's fiction. Assistant Professor of Political Science Mary McGrath co-wrote the paper and says the political divide often boils down to a matter of trust.
If we had members of both parties saying this is a serious issue, the science on it is clear, and so we need to take political action to do something about it, that would certainly make things a lot easier, because you do, again, then have those trusted sources conveying the factual information.
McGrath says the paper compiles much of the previous research that looks into the political divide over climate change.
A book written by Weinberg professor Matthias Dopka has recently been published and is gaining attention. Titled Love, Money, and Parenting, How Economics Explains the Way We Raise Our Kids, the book shows the positive correlation between economic and inequality and harsher parenting. It also explains how growing economic inequality resulted in an increasing parenting gap between richer and poorer families. On a more hopeful note, the book says that concerns over economic opportunities can be addressed through policies ranging from early childhood education to college admission policies.
And speaking of parents, we wanted to hear your crazy parent stories, so we asked you in this week's edition of Rock Talk.
Hi all, welcome to Rock Talk. I'm Hyojung Kim, and today we're going to ask Northwestern students to share their funniest parent stories.
Rock Talk.
They actually were kind of dead serious. Or kind of joking, but kind of serious about buying a house in Chicago and moving to California.
Oh god.
Do you have anything to share?
No. I went to boarding school, so my parents weren't around for most of my high school experience.
My parents didn't have to be on me about anything. I mean, they just kind of like are there.
My senior year when I wanted to go to prom and then go to like our prom party the day after, my parents didn't want me to go, so I had to make a 20-slide PowerPoint presentation.
Helicopter parenting stories are crazy stories. My parents were like very, very normal.
Which is sweet, but like too much.
I love them, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this.
If you have a future Rock Talk topic, tweet it at us at @NNN_news.
The rock looked pretty snowy out there. Are we expecting more snow this week? Fred Tippett is in the studio with more. Fred?
No snow for the next few days, guys, but don't get too excited just yet. The temperature is going to stay in the 30s for the next 3 days, pretty balmy compared to the temperatures we've been feeling this week. It'll get a little colder by the weekend, dropping down into the mid-20s. Tomorrow will be a little colder than today. It will be sunny with a high of 31 and a low of 25. Thursday will be a little warmer and cloudy with a high of 38 and a low of 32. You'll need your raincoats and umbrellas on Friday with a 90% chance of rain and a high of 33 and a low of 12. Expect temperatures to drop down on Saturday when it will be partly cloudy with a high of 22 and a low of 13. Sunday should be about the same, partly cloudy with a high of 25 and a low of 10. No snow in the forecast for this week, so get outside and enjoy the calm conditions while you can. I'm Fred Tippett, and this has been your 5-day weather forecast. Back to you on the desk.
Thanks, Fred. Coming up with arts, dances, and food, Chicago welcomes the Chinese New Year.
And socially conscious shopping, how the Black Beauty Festival supported Black business, beauty, and wellness.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Go Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all the go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
The Chinese American Museum of Chicago hosted a Chinese New Year festival last Saturday, complete with the traditional Chinese music performance, arts and crafts, and the traditional Chinese lion dance. NNN's Cyrus Singh was there.
It's one of the biggest days of the year in Chinese culture, the Chinese New Year. For the Chinese American Museum of Chicago, it's also one of their busiest. Featuring a traditional Chinese dance performance, a Chinese lion dance, and educational videos about the history of the Chinese New Year, the event hopes to raise awareness about Chinese presence in Chicago and to attract new members.
One of the goals of our mission is to educate people about Chinese American history and culture. So by hosting events like this, we can reach more people.
The event sold out a few days before the celebration even happened. Organizers say they weren't even able to accept walk-ins, something they almost always do. Over 50% of the guests who attended had never been to the museum before, including John Rice, who says he's for sure coming back next year.
I thought it was great. I think it's really interesting to learn about other cultures and the
had a nice musical program.
Traditional music, arts and crafts, a calligraphy station, and a speech from Miss Chinese Chicago 2019 were all hallmarks of this year's celebration. But for guests like Sue Lee, the best part was unquestionably the traditional Chinese food.
But Chinese New Year is really about family and friends, and most of all, eating. You know, Chinese people, I cannot tell you, we love to eat good food and share it with family and friends.
For an event that celebrated the Year of the Pig, the Chinese American Museum of Chicago certainly brought home the bacon. Syra Singh, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Syra. Now let's send it down to Olivia Olander in the NNN newsroom with your national update.
I'm Olivia Olander, and these are your national news highlights. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has accused the National Enquirer's parent company of extortion and blackmail. Last month, the Enquirer published texts and photos showing Bezos was having an affair. Now, Bezos is investigating American Media Incorporated. In a post on Medium, Bezos wrote that the editor-in-chief of the Enquirer threatened to publish more photos and texts if Bezos didn't stop his investigation. An attorney for AMI said that the emails to Bezos and the story were journalism, not blackmail. Senator Elizabeth Warren has officially announced she's running for president. In a speech in her home state of Massachusetts, Warren stressed she won't take money from super PACs or corporate lobbyists. She laid into President Donald Trump in her first day on the trail, telling a crowd in Iowa, quote, he might not even be a free person by 2020. She joins Kamala Harris, Julian Castro, Cory Booker, and a wide field of other challengers to President Trump. Another woman is accusing Virginia's lieutenant governor of sexual assault. Meredith Watson said Justin Fairfax raped her when they went to Duke together in 2000. Dr. Vanessa Tyson, a professor at Scripps College, accused Fairfax of a 2004 sexual assault earlier in the week. Fairfax has denied both claims and said in a statement he has, quote, nothing to hide. Virginia's top Democrats have faced a string of scandals since the beginning of February when a photo surfaced from Governor Ralph Northam's medical school yearbook page of a person in blackface and another person in a KKK robe. Northam now maintains that he was not in the photo, but said he dressed in blackface at another party in the 80s. Neither he nor Fairfax has offered to resign. Casey Musgraves, Dua Lipa, and Cardi B are among the newest Grammy winners. Since the ceremony on Sunday, they have posted grateful messages on social media. Cardi took to Twitter to send love to her fans.
I want to keep on saying thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Cardigan, because y'all know we do good and bad and faking the lies.
It's worth mentioning that Cardi also posted a rant about working while pregnant yesterday afternoon and deleted her Instagram shortly after. I'm Olivia Olander, and this has been your National Update.
Up next, Beautiful and Empowered, how one Chicago event is lifting up Black-owned beauty businesses.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Chicago's Victory Gardens Theater partnered with Black-owned Chicago and Black Women's Festival to host the third annual Black Beauty Festival this past weekend. NNN's Megan Leibowitz went to check it out.
Black businesses, beauty, and wellness. Those were the themes of the third annual Black Beauty Festival. The halls outside the Victory Gardens Theater were lined with booths featuring Black-owned local businesses. Becca Brown, the lead on the festival, hopes the event inspires more people to support local Black businesses.
The absolute most important thing to me is to make sure that people are, giving to small businesses and feeding into their own community, because those dollars staying here, it really, really does matter.
Designed by Deb was one of about a dozen businesses featured. The company specializes in Afrocentric children's clothing. Owner Deborah Lathan hopes her clothes help people connect with their roots.
I like for them to see things that make people ask them questions. I want them to know about their heritage and their culture. So this is why I do this.
The festival is taking place in Victory Gardens behind me. Besides browsing business stands, patrons can also watch special performances.
On Saturday, the festival featured monologue performances. The festival was also anchored around the show Pipeline, which sold out on Sunday.
Pipeline explores the emotional toll of the school-to-prison pipeline, an issue that affects a lot of our city's youth. And so it's really interesting to sort of have a little bit of a juxtaposition of this incredible festival that's about celebrating Blackness and celebrating, who we are, especially during, Black History Month, but then also having a show that takes a deep dive into some of the issues that we struggle with.
Megan Leibowitz, Northwestern News Network.
Continuing our series on Black History Month, this year marks the 60-year anniversary of the founding of Tamla Records, which would later become known as the Motown Record Company. Motown was founded by Berry Gordy Jr. in 1959. Its headquarters, dubbed Hitsville, USA Motown, a combination of the words motor and town, is a nod to its home city of Detroit. The record label represented an important step in the integration of pop music.
Motown claims 79 top 10 records on the Billboard charts in the 60s from the likes of Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, Michael Jackson, and the Jackson 5. Today, the label operates under the Capitol Music Group and is enshrined in the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. Don't go breaking our hearts why you shouldn't expect a popular candy in your Valentine's.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
The hearts of sugar lovers everywhere were broken with some less than sweet news because Necco went out of business. Don't expect to see the candy conversation sweethearts among your Valentine's Day goodies this year.
We're bidding these treats a bittersweet goodbye right here on the show.
Amanda, I don't know about you, but these just remind me of those second grade gifts that you give in the classroom and nobody liked them.
Okay.
You wanted like the real candy,
No,
and this was
I
not
agree,
the real
but
candy.
it kind of feels like I'm like a little piece of my childhood is
This
going
is like
away,
a rock. It's like you're biting into a rock. Nobody liked
I don't know.
them.
Maybe there'll be new treats that like elementary schoolers will get used to. I don't know. I don't like it. I wish they were here.
This is not traditional. These are you're eating rocks.
All right, we can agree to disagree.
All right, that's all the stories we have for you tonight. I'm Justin Sweetwood.
And I'm Amanda Rooker. From all of us here at NNN, thank you for watching and good night.